now for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report. I'm Barbershop Jay. I'll be your host for the day. Here's what's happening. This, of course, unfortunately, is a rebroadcast of the show we had earlier due to some technical difficulties. Unfortunately, again. Joining me on the show today, of course, as always, is my man from the NYC, a.k.a. Rucker Park, Brother Rich. Brother Rich, what's happening?
I'm always honored to be on with you, no matter what time of day or night.
Yes, and on the other side of the ledger, we got my man from up north, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J. Double J, what you say to the people?
Always honored, and it's always a pleasure as well with our growing audience, and looking forward to doing the topics not just once, but twice.
Yeah, right? As they say, what do they say? Two times is the charm? Yeah, I guess they do, huh?
In this case, it fits.
Yeah. You know what, fellas? We might as well go at it again. Why not, right? That we here. The first topic of discussion, or the first thing we'd like to discuss today, if I might say, and before I get into all of that, let's just say the number to call is area code 267-687-0026. That number again is area code 267-687-0026. Lakers Nation, or should I say Lakers drama, the saga continues. Brother Rich, as you so aptly pointed out in previous broadcasts, that the Lakers are a topic that we need to discuss, seeing how you're out in L.A., sunny side, California, as I like to say. You think the Lakers should be a topic of discussion because of the drama and the whole Magic Johnson and the LeBron James. Prior to all of this, prior to LeBron James joining the Lakers, do you recall, the Lakers being involved in such a negative conversation?
Well, I think that we forget that, unfortunately, the Lakers, unfortunately, have been on the list of NBA fans for the last 5 years, and not for any good reason. And it's always been for dysfunction, if not for when the younger, her brother, Bus, was running the franchise, and people were talking about his managerial executive decisions and some of the things that he was or was not doing. And then Jeannie took over, and then there were questions about whether or not stability would come under her reign, and we see that hasn't yet to arrive. So I think that, and I maintain that this is what Magic Johnson was not willing to tie his legacy to. He was not willing to tie his legacy and who and what he is and who and what he's always represented to that measure of confusion. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, I do too. Double J, what about you?
Well, absolutely. This is somebody who's got a pedigree that only a select few can rival, and when that comes into question or threatens that, you do what's ultimately in your best interest to maintain it.
Indeed. Well, Ty Lue, now the head coach of the Lakers and LeBron James' boy, celebrated his 42nd birthday with a Lakers cake. Okay? I ask you both this question. Is that really news? No.
Certainly is not to me. I'm sorry. Certainly is not to me.
No.
The worst kept secret.
Yeah, right. Is it really a secret? Yeah, right. Got you. I'm not impressed by the whole Ty Lue. It seems to me like they're trying to play this whole thing up, as if to say that, now that they got Ty Lue, the Lakers are on the back to this resurgence, so to speak, and that soon to follow is another banner to be hung up in the rafters. But, whatever they selling, I personally am not buying. No disrespect to Lue, because he did play for the Lakers. But in this case, I don't see Ty Lue as being that person who will restore the Lakers back to their glory. And unfortunately, I see him as no more than a Brian Yes man, here in Cleveland. All you had to do was just basically be a figurehead, so to speak, as previous or prior coaches that when LeBron was in Cleveland, and of course Lou, before Lou, well, who was it? Blatt, Mike Brown. I don't recall either of them guys being able to do when LeBron was in tow what Greg Popovich could do with his stars, in San Antonio. I didn't see Lou or Blatt or Mike Brown, getting in the chest of LeBron James saying, hey, that was a bad play, or you made a turnover, or whatever the case may be, as Pop could do when it came to Tim Duncan and Ginobili and Parker. Hey, look, and even Kawhi. Hey, look, no, we don't do it that way. That's not how we do it here in San Antonio, okay? We've had more wins before you guys got here, during, and after, so we have a standard here that we do. And even though you're a star, you're going to, adhere to the standard. Not saying you're going to do it my way or it's the highway, but you see, we've had something in place here that works. So Ty Lue is just a figurehead to me, a yes man. At the end of the day, though, Brother Rich, I'm going to ask you, do you think that Ty Lue can somehow, in some shape, form, or fashion, be this central piece outside of LeBron James, so to speak, from a coaching standpoint? Can he be that guy to actually bring the Lakers back? Will they win? Can they make the playoffs with Ty Lue being as Ty Lue being there? Okay, so you're jesting, right? No?
Absolutely not. I think that for traditional Laker fans, Ty Lue's hiring is only the proverbial nail in the franchise coffin. And at this point, the Lakers will not be anything to speak of unless they're sold. And this is what many Laker fans are lamenting, the fact that the franchise has come to this point. And I remember telling you this in one of our earlier conversations. I don't know whether we said this on or off air. We may have said this via text. I said to you that for the next 4 to 5 years, LA will be the Clipper town. And so right now it's about the Clippers, and it's go Clippers in terms of LA as a city, because they're the stable franchise right now. They're the franchise poised to attract more and more free agents. And that's why you hear more free agents talking about, I want to come to LA, but I don't necessarily want to come to the Lakers. I'm well able and willing to go to the Clippers. Why is that? Because of the continued dysfunction of the Lakers. And how do you get around the view that the Lakers, that LeBron wants to run every team when Ty Lue is the coach? How do you get around that the view that he's now really firmly in charge of certain elements of that team that players themselves might not be comfortable with? Other players coming there might not be comfortable with playing on LeBron's team, with LeBron's coach, with LeBron's management in place, and LeBron's people making all the decisions that relates to the day-to-day of the franchise and what's happening with the players. Whether or not that's real or not, that's the perception. And so bringing in Ty Lue, who everybody knows that's who LeBron wants, how does that change that perception?
And speaking of the Clippers, rumor has it that Klay Thompson, the Warriors' Klay Thompson, is considering, or I guess, I'm not even sure that's even a rumor, going to the Clippers. Can you see Klay Thompson going to the Clippers, Double J?
Again, it comes down to the mindset of the players. He really has no. It wouldn't be because of winning. It would come down to does he feel that he's in the shadow? That he's the Scotty to Steph's Michael. Or arguably KD's, but just because of the tenure there, does he want to step out and potentially show that he can be, he can achieve successful results without the same cast members that he has right now? But again, when you look at it from a financial standpoint, again, he is a multi-million-dollar, paid athlete. But the Warriors are the individuals that hold the ability to pay him the most because, again, they currently have his rights. And so that's the advantage that the collective bargaining agreement gives to the unrestricted free agents. And specifically to the existing team to entice them to remain where they are.
So are you suggesting then that Klay Thompson? You said the mindset. Do you think that Klay Thompson's mindset would be one of a Robin to a Batman, or do you think Klay Thompson's mindset would be, I'm just cool with being a significant role player. I don't have to necessarily be Robin.
Well, I'll tell you this. When you look at James Harden's quote from a while back, he was prepared to be the sixth man in Oklahoma City for the entirety of his career because he understood that he was that confident that the team could ultimately achieve success and consistent success over that period of time. Klay may look at it because, again, money is of course of value, but when you have abundance of it, it loses its luster to an extent, and that's not what is, in my opinion, that's not what's driving these players from that particular team. If I'm Klay Thompson, I understand I can do something very, very special with the current cast that I have that we can rival what Michael, Scottie, and had done in the past. So if I'm Klay Thompson, I'm staying right where I'm at.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, Brother Rich, what you say you? You think Klay Thompson stays right where he's at?
If I could echo every word that Double J used, I would do exactly that because I totally agree with him 1,000%. And I would only add to it that, as he said so beautifully, why would Klay Thompson move? He's in the best possible situation. He's not the type of player that's trying to say, look, let me get my own team. He's clearly the type of player that is cool with being a part of a team where he contributes magnificently. He's on a team where he's allowed to heat up sometimes, where he can have a 60-point game, a 30-point quarter. He can do that on the Golden State Warriors. If he goes to another team, he'll be expected to produce that every night. On Golden State, he's just contributing to the beautiful masterpiece that is the Warriors. This is why, in truth, Kevin Durant really doesn't fit that team. In truth, he doesn't fit there. He's actually too supremely gifted. They fit better as a team and will fit better, continue to fit better as a team and compete, even in his absence. He needs to go somewhere else and get his own team and show what he's supremely talented, far more so than perhaps anybody else on that team. And he needs his own environment where he can run his own team. But that team itself, Klay Thompson is a part of the fabric of that team. He fits the area. He's still in California. Like Double J said, the economics is not that much different. They're going to be able to pay him more money than anybody else anyway. He's going to be trying to max deal with them. And the kind of money he's making on and off the court, and he's a child, he's a person of means. His father played in the NBA. He's not a guy coming up from the mean streets of Detroit or L.A. or Cleveland, or he's not coming from that circumstance. He's been used to a certain level of comfort his entire life. So there's not a pressure on him to get a certain income level. He's there already, and he'll be there for the rest of his life and for his children's life. Presumably.
Well, also on that rumor mill, or said to be rumored, the reason why Klay might consider the Clippers is because Kawhi Leonard also is considering the Clippers. And as you so aptly stated in previous broadcasts, Brother Rich, a return home. And that may entice Klay to want to go play for the Clippers. What say you about Kawhi, Brother Rich, going to being a part of the Clippers, so to speak?
I almost would say that's as much a done deal as the talk of Kevin Durant going to the Knicks. Because, again, here's an individual, as we all agreed in previous broadcasts, is an individual that has on more than one occasion stated his preference. His preference was and is to be in a market closer to home. He was born and raised in California. Particularly, he was born and raised in the Los Angeles County area. He wants to be home. He went to school, college, he chose. Of all the colleges he could have gone to, he went to San Diego State. He played there, got to the NBA, asked at a certain point after he'd won championship with the San Diego Spurs, a very consistent franchise. He asked, I apologize, San Antonio Spurs. He asked to be excused and be traded to Southern California team, preferably one of the teams in Los Angeles. and he had a preference for the Clippers. It was stated at that moment he preferred the Clippers over the Lakers. For whatever reason that was, there were rumors as to what that was about, but he stated at that time he wanted to come to the Clippers. I haven't heard anything in the year that's ensued, the basketball year that's ensued, that says he's changed his mind. Now, the talk now is he could perhaps be willing to re-sign with Toronto. No disrespect to the Toronto area. It's a beautiful city, international city. It's just a very, 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 very cold city in the wintertime. And a young man from Southern California who prefers that climate, who at this stage of his career wants to come and add on to and build his legacy in his home area and contribute to a franchise that has never won anything, been the laughing stock of the area. I could see that. And remember, I'll say this as a closeout point. Remember, here's another thing people need to remember. He played in San Diego. The San Diego Clippers, as they once were, or the Clippers, the Los Angeles Clippers, they're closer to being the San Diego team than they are the Los Angeles team. And that's why there's much talk about them getting their own arena. So it would not be surprising to many of us that he would go play for the San Diego team as opposed to play for, meaning the Clippers, as opposed to play for the Lakers.
Oh, so in other words, in essence, it would come full circle for Kawhi. It's just it all fits, is what you're saying. Okay, yeah. And I ask all that because there's also on the rumor mill, the grapevine, that Kawhi is torn somewhat between going back home and staying in Toronto because there's talk about the possibility of Kyle Lowry being moved and maybe a Mike Conley being put in his place, so to speak, and that the addition of Mike Conley possibly or potentially is what may tilt the scales in favor of the Raptors in Kawhi staying there. No? Gotcha.
Are you about to hit the comedy meter on the show? You about to the laugh track?
You about to hit the laugh track? No, I wasn't about to hit the laugh track. Yeah. So you saying, yeah, right. What's already understood need not be explained. Is that what you're driving at? Gotcha.
Again, I love Toronto. It's a very beautiful city. It's very, very nice. Really, really is. If I compare places, if I want to be in, I'm saying and have stated that my preference is I want to go home, how do I settle for Toronto? What is Toronto what are they going to give me to entice me when the Clippers are poised to be a championship team? We're talking now. Let's talk purely basketball. Here's a team that traded away players and still made it to the Western Conference playoffs. In the Western Conference, they made it. They fought and made it with scrappy players. A franchise that has added Jerry West to their front office, who is the decision maker. A franchise that put the coach in a position where he's best suited, Doc Rivers, so that he's not being troubled with having to make executive basketball decisions and worry about contracts and player management. He can concentrate solely on being the fantastic coach that he's known to be. You saw that this year. Why would I, if I'm choosing to move, why would I choose to stay in Toronto, who is a proverbial loser? Now you have Boston, you have Philadelphia, you have Milwaukee. It's going to be a long time before somebody get out the East other than one of those three.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point because there are some who said even despite all of that, Phillies and the Milwaukees, that with Kawhi being in the East, that he trumps all of that, so to speak, that he might consider staying in the East as well because he could rule the East now that LeBron James is no longer in the East. And you're saying, too, though, that not even the addition of Mike Conley and maybe the idea that he could rule the East would be.
He in what army, Jay?
Okay,
he in what army?
Well, they got Pascal Siakam.
He's probably one of the best players. Yeah, okay, yeah. He's one of the best players in the East right now. Where are they right now? They're struggling for their life right now. If he didn't have 39 the other night, they're probably on their way home.
Yeah, and you also bring up an interesting point, too, about the Clippers having Jerry West. We've said that in regards to other sports about it starts at the top, so to speak. And who else would you want to have? I can't think of anybody off the top of my head at the top of your organization or a guy in charge of buying the groceries, so to speak, than a Jerry West. Huh? as the GM. You know what I mean? That actually, in addition to him, of course, wanting to be home, I don't know if I had to maybe put him in order, but that might be at the top of the list in terms of that thing that entices him to come back to L.A. The fact that Jerry West, or that might just be the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, or the deal sealer. We got Jerry West over there. Of course I'm going back. You know what I mean? Jerry West. Double J, what say you?
Well, I couldn't agree more. If this were, if I were to inherit an NBA franchise this evening, I would instantly, if I had my pick of the litter and who I want running the basketball operations and being my general manager, I'm giving them both titles there. It's going to be Jerry West. This guy's done it time and time again, and I think the fact that he's with the Clippers is severely, it's this LeBron thing with the Lakers may have the spotlight. But what he's going to do, he may get the last laugh in all of this by putting together something. And I think just this year is a sign of things to come with what's going to happen with that team. My only concern is when there becomes expectations that need to be met. When you incorporate a Kawhi and you start wondering about chemistry, and I'll say this, though, if anybody knows how to handle personalities, it would
Jerry
be
West.
the right guy with both Jerry West and Doc Rivers.
Yeah,
so
okay. That's fair.
That even puts that to bed.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I could see it, too. I mean, at the end of the day, we discuss the things that we discuss and the topics, of course, based on what makes sense. All right? And it just makes sense. I'm with you, Brother Rich. It makes sense for Kawhi to go. It makes more sense, rather, for Kawhi to go possibly to the Clippers as opposed to the Lakers. Because, unfortunately, for the Lakers to be as storied a franchise as they are and have been for years, all my life growing up, they are, for lack of a better reference or term or word, they are a sinking ship, I think. You know what I mean? You can't stay on top forever. And we know that the Lakers eventually will be back, because those types of organizations, they don't rebuild, they reload, so to speak. But I think that their reload period is going to take a little minute. And, players, Father Time is undefeated. You know what I mean? So players don't have so much time to make decisions about, winning titles and so on and so forth. So right now, the Clippers are outside of Kawhi Leonard even. If you're a free agent, and you don't even have to be necessarily a marquee free agent. You could be a second tier or whatever the case may be. But if I'm looking at possible destinations, L.A. being the focal point, I'm leaning towards the Clippers too. You know what I mean? Because I look at what's going on in L.A., like I just said, and I don't like what I'm seeing, potentially or otherwise. You know what I mean? If I'm a free agent, and I'm looking and I'm saying, well, you know what? I look over to the left. I say, yeah, that's the Lakers. That's the Lakers. But, man, they got a lot going on over there, man. And then I look at the Clippers, and I'm saying, well, you know what? They seem like right now, as it stands, they seem to be more so on the come up than the Lakers. So where would you go? You know what I mean? Of course I would go to the Clippers.
I remember right now you play for the Clippers. You're in the same market, same building, same weather, same everything. And you got better management. You literally, in the basketball term, that's a better team. They have a better trajectory in terms of where you see them going. Their coach has been there for a longer period of time. And everybody who plays, the young players, and people know that Doc is a disciplinarian. He's a respected coach. He knows what he's doing. He coaches defense. And remember now, they have more money than the Lakers. Ballmer is a multi-billionaire. They've got deep pockets. So they actually are better poised economically than the Lakers. So if I'm a player and I'm saying, look, I want to go play for LA, well, like you just said, if I'm looking at all of those factors, why would I choose the Lakers? Because, and my theory or my King theory, the reality is if I come play for the Lakers, I'm playing for LeBron. That's not LeBron's fault. It's just the reality that the young man is very gifted. We're playing in his era, and he's the king. And where he goes, he has to have a court, and everybody that's with him is going to submit and be one of his subjects. If I'm coming to L.A., If I'm Kawhi, I don't want to play in that. I don't want to be in that. If I'm another player of any ilk who understands the kind of talent I bring, I don't want to play in that. I don't want to do that.
You know, and I know we
So
talking
let's take it
Lakers.
a step further too. Look at this. The Lakers have of course, a quote unquote tradition of winning, which indicates that the Clippers do not. However, when we talk about legacy and some of these other, variables that go into a player's mind, imagine, the impact of a Clipper title would trump you winning with the Lakers.
Whoa, Double J, what you say? Oh my God!
We're talking about statues around Staples, and like you said, a billionaire owner. He would have you. It would change the narrative.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I can't argue that, man. Again, it makes sense. It makes perfect good sense. Well, let me ask this then. Again, I know we're talking Lakers. As far as the Clippers go, actually, we should have just named this or titled this L.A., the L.A. La La Land or something, because they both intertwined.
The Battle of L.A.
Yeah, right. Let's say Kawhi Leonard and Klay Thompson go to the Clippers. Just hear me out. Do the Clippers keep Lou Williams?
Why not?
Say again, Brother Rich.
I would say, why not?
Yeah, I'm
why
just
would
asking.
they not keep him?
Yeah,
Absolutely, they keep him because you're talking about right now the NBA. This is a proverbial arms race. It's about let's load up with the most talent we can that fits together, that where we can get them to work as pieces and we can really do some things. And so why not? Certainly, the best sixth man in the game right now.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
if you look at their potential draft position, they could add to that. Beverly's contract is nearing its end, and additionally, so he's likely, if he were to resign, he might be into what they can do, especially with some centerpieces coming together, and then they go and add a young point guard. Potentially a Carson Edwards I'll throw out there who would suit the team and fit the style of play. They all of a sudden they become the better of the two teams, and of course better of the situations overall.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Speaking of Clippers draft picks, they I think they got a pick in the first round. You bear with me for a moment. Let me take a look at that. But, yeah, at the end of the day, too, I'm going to throw this other question out there while I'm looking that up. Back to the Lakers, Brother Rich. Because you got to get somebody over there. They got to get somebody over there to play with Bron or whatever. They can't just stand pat with what they have, that roster, right? And we already talked about Lonzo possibly and Kuzma, Ingram, not being there or whatever. I don't think those guys go anywhere. So other than those three, let's just say somehow, somewhere those three stay or whatever. Who would the Lakers unload? Because you got to do something, right? But they still have money for one max guy or something or another, right?
Correct. Correct. That's the whole point of why the whole AD talk started prematurely, in my point of view. They should have just let it play itself out and waited till the summer and then gone behind the doors and dealt with that matter because everybody knew he wanted to come to L.A. But nevertheless, they overplayed their hand with that. So now you're talking about the possibility of adding a mid-level like a Kemba Walker or somebody like that, or perhaps if they can pry Jimmy Butler away. But at this point, then the Lakers are not poised to get any top-tier free agent. That's just a fact because the numbers are against the team. The team is not positioned and poised in terms of the top-tier free agents. None of them have openly, willingly. They don't want to be in a movie with LeBron, much less play with him. That's a fact.
All right, so the Lakers roster, I'm asking both of you. Double J, you can answer first on this one because Brother Rich just went. The Lakers roster is not only better next year, that's a question. Do they not only make the playoffs And what would possibly or potentially be their seeding should they make the playoffs?
Well, I'm going to say, of course, they're going to be better. I think without a doubt, Anthony Davis is a part of that franchise. And taking it a step further, they're going to rather end up in the 4 spot.
Really? 4? Boy. What about you, Brother Rich? I don't know about that, Double J.
Well, I hate to be the person that has to say this, but I believe that it'll be one of our worst seasons in a long time, and that we once again will not make the playoffs. But this time we would definitively will not make the playoffs, and that we probably will end up somewhere in the lottery.
Whoa. Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said. Wow. Man. All right. Well, I think I have something here. Well, Forbes now. This is Forbes. Forbes is saying they're using this verbiage now. They say the Clippers are on the verge of a basketball resurgence. I don't ever recall them being a powerhouse. To be a resurgence, that means, in other words, in order for resurgence to apply or be applicable to you, you had to have previously been something. All right. So like you were at glory.
All right.
Yeah, you were at glory. You fell off. Now you have to be brought back to glory. I don't recall the Clippers ever being that. I would use the word resurgence in the case of the Lakers more so than I would the Clippers, to make a long story longer. But the Clippers.
What if they're referring to the Corey Maggette and Lamar Odom days?
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess. The Clippers, if I'm looking at this correctly, or I'm reading this correctly, Boston has their 29th pick. Wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. That is not good. You think that's good? Yeah. Well, we'll see about that.
But they have money, though. They have money in cap room, and they have location, and they have Jerry West. And that's what they're counting on. Remember, that was the whole point of why they jettisoned a lot of their free agent, their contracts this season, why people thought they were, quote-unquote, tanking, because they were clearing cap space for what is presumed to be a Kawhi Leonard signing, and perhaps they have room to sign one other max player. That's the issue, is that the Clippers are now prepared after shipping out a lot of those big contracts.
Yeah,
they're ready to sign some guys. So, yeah, and remember, the team that they have currently, the question is, if they added a Kawhi Leonard and perhaps one other, let's say they added Kawhi Leonard and Jimmy Butler to that team, they're ready now to make a run against anybody with that kind of squad.
Oh, you said wait, back up. You said Jimmy Butler on the Clippers? Is that what you said?
Oh, absolutely. He's mentioned the Clippers as one of his possible landing destinations. Yes, absolutely.
I love Jimmy Butler, but I hate that move, and the only reason why I say that is because his personality is probably his biggest weakness, or biggest opportunity.
I totally agree with you, Double J. Here's the only question about that: can Doc Rivers handle that? And so there are people that believe that Doc Rivers is the kind of coach. Yes, he has that personality that you absolutely agree with. The question becomes, or people believe that Doc Rivers could perhaps handle that.
Yeah, well, again, I'm in agreement with both of you. Yes, his personality, but in this case, it's two sides to the coin, so to speak. It's something to be said, almost maybe in the case of like Odell Beckham for the Browns. It's something to be said, and better yet, let me scratch it. I'll use the Patriots. How, and I'm not saying Jimmy Butler is, but just for the sake of this conversation or argument or whatever, how many times have we seen in cases where a guy who was, quote unquote, said to be a malcontent in one spot, and he goes to the Patriots, and all of a sudden it all works out? It depends on where you're going. You get what I mean? And with a guy like you said, or the Doc Rivers and the Jerry West, a guy like Jimmy Butler, it's a different respect you have when you go to an organization. And unfortunately, it used to be the case with the Browns. And I've talked to former players who said this. Trust me. Once upon a time, you go to the Browns you come in the Browns locker room and everything was hunky-dory. but wasn't nobody winning. You get what I'm saying? Because it was like, hey, well, we got this guy. We don't want to just, But then the player go to another organization, and the whole culture is different. Yeah, we get it. We get you as a top pick and a top this and a guy this in college, but that ain't that no more. You're here now, and this is how we do things. From the lady who runs the cash register in our cafeteria, all the way to certain guys at the top and all points in between. This is how we do, from an organizational standpoint, this is how we do things. So in other words, Jimmy may be what Jimmy is in other spots because other spots may have been apprehensive to really check Jimmy, so to speak. We saw that in Cleveland when Paul Silas tried to do that with LeBron. They got him up out of here. You ain't going to mess up the goose that lays the golden eggs, okay, Hillside Farms or whoever it is. You get to the Clippers.
Well,
you get what I'm saying, though? He
just
might
briefly. Yeah, I do entirely. The question is, though, when you look at Chicago, and I get it right now, they're a mess, but they've had the same management for decades, it feels like. And when Jimmy Butler was why Derrick Rose was traded. And when you talk about, an MVP, by far none was the leader of the team, clashing with, you had a Tom Thibodeau, you had Jimmy Butler, you had Gar Forman, you had Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is very passive when it comes to that stuff. Jimmy Butler, on the other hand, we know is very vocal. And for him to bully the same management team that was affiliated with a 6-championship organization into moving somebody at the time the caliber of Derrick Rose, albeit this is post-injury, but yet there was still that, glimmer of hope that he was going to return back to form. That is why I strongly question if anyone other than maybe LeBron James can tame Jimmy Butler, other than Jimmy Butler himself.
Yeah. If I had to list them in order, as far as people who, if Jimmy Butler were to be in their midst, who could say, look, Jimmy, we doing things different now, it would be Jerry West, Doc Rivers, and LeBron James, a distant 40th. See what I'm saying? And I say that because while they might be on two different ends of the spectrum, Jimmy might be, and I don't mean this literally because I don't know the guy and I like how he plays. But let's just say Jimmy has a personality disorder, and I say that loosely. So do LeBron. You get what I'm saying? You put a narcissist with a guy who full of himself, that could be a recipe for disaster too. You need a guy, and I'm going to use Brother Rich in this case, because there's been instances where when he was here in Cleveland, he was that voice of reason. You get what I'm saying? You need a strong voice of reason. What was the conversation? What we always talk about when players go to play for Phil Jackson, Brother Rich? What did we say? You get what I'm saying?
That was the example. That's
yeah. When you go to
Phil Jackson,
yeah,
is perfect.
Yeah. When you go to Phil Jackson, Phil show you them. Phil said, "Look, don't
the
come
ring.
in here. Yeah, don't come in here with that." You see what I'm saying? No offense to the Minnesota Timberwolves, but when you over there, I don't know how they do things over there, but when you come here, this is how we do things. Matter of fact, in a situation, and I'm with your point though, Double J. I really am. I feel what you're saying. It's valid with a capital valid. You get what I mean? But again, the flip side of that is when we talk, like I just mentioned about the Patriots. It's just some organizations where, matter of fact, let me back up right quick. Phil has a similar situation with Shaquille O'Neal. Remember now, Shaq, when he left Orlando and came to the Lakers, albeit trade or whatever you want to, whatever have you. He was doing a bunch of extracurricular stuff. His focus was not on winning titles. You get what I'm saying? And he himself, Shaq said, Phil sat him down and said, look, man, I get it. You making videos. Because what was the movie Shaq made? Kazam, which was a flop, just like the Space Jam 2. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Phil was like, look, man, I get it. I'm not telling you how to live your life. You want to do, because Shaq was into everything. My gosh. And if he was probably even a more extreme case than Jimmy Butler. You know what I'm saying? As far as doing whatever.
He still
is.
I mean?
Yeah, well, yeah. But at the time, you know, he was doing rap videos on Living Color. He was doing all types of stuff. And Phil said, look, man, I'm not trying to tell you how to, you know, do you. But guess what? I'm going to give you got to make this choice now. If you want this, you know, he had, you know, Phil hit the on them trophies, you know. And then he, you know, opened up his ring case that he had he had so many rings, Phil did. He couldn't even put them on his fingers. He had his little suitcase, like the suitcase that the Jordans come in. You know, he opened up his suitcase, and the rings the bling started glowing. He said, look, if you want this, then here's what you got to do. You understand what I'm saying? But if you want that, then keep doing what you're doing. But you can't do both. You know what I'm saying? You can't keep doing that and think you're going to get this. You understand what I'm saying? It takes, and C.J. McCollum sort of alluded to the whole idea after that 4 overtime thriller. I know I was going to throw that in right quick, where he was asked, I don't know if it was Doris Burke or one female reporter asked him, did you know that you played 60-some-odd minutes in that game? He was like, no. He's like, but due to my preparation and what I do in the summer, you know, my work ethic is what I'm driving at. You get what I mean? You know, so the Jerry Wesses and the Doc Rivers gonna tell Jimmy if he were to go there, look, man, you know, this is how you got to do this if you want, you know, if you trying to get that gold trophy, then this is what you got to do. You know what I mean? You can't come over here with that stuff you was doing in Chicago, in Minnesota, you know, and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? No, we don't take that here. You're not going to land-based, you know what I mean? And again, lastly, and I'll let you guys weigh in some more, that whole deal in Miami with LeBron. Brown thought he was going to come in and do what he did in Cleveland because, you know, Cleveland, unfortunately, they were so often looking for a savior. Whatever you say goes. You see what I mean? He was running the team. Pat Riley was like, nah, what you talking about? You know, Pat Riley waved that hand over the top of that slick back, you know, mafia-type hair, you know what I mean? He's like, no. I get who you are, and we appreciate what you did for us, but you can kick rocks. You know what I mean? You know, keep on going. We don't have that here. And, of course, what did LeBron do? He wrote a letter, ... So, yeah, I think if Butler was to go to the Clippers, you know, you'd see it'd be the difference in him and his personality. It might still, of course, be his personality, but the way he go about doing his personality, the difference would be like night and day. I just don't think Jerry West is the logo.
You know, I also want to defend Doc and Jerry West and the Clippers franchise in this regard, and because I totally agree with everything you were saying, Double J. I totally get that he's that kind of player. Here's the issue. Look at the franchises that have been involved thus far. First and foremost, you're talking about Chicago. Now, I don't feel Chicago, the Bulls are one of those teams, like they're like the Ohio State Buckeyes. Anything bad that happens to them, I feel is well worth it. They've done a lot to deserve it. The Bulls are a team that disrespected the greatest player of all time, arguably the greatest player of all time, Michael Jordan, in terms of how they handled him, to where they felt that his contribution as perhaps the greatest player of all time wasn't all that to begin with, and that they could plug and play him when he made certain requests. And we know that in today's NBA, Michael Jordan played for pennies on the dollar compared to what these people are playing for now. He played. This is the player that made sure they put in his contract a clause that allowed him to play basketball any way he wanted to, just for, as he called it, the love of the game. So here's the kind of player that this team mistreated. So they didn't prove that they know how to handle their players in the first place. So they thought they had a renaissance in Jimmy Butler coming and what he potentially could be, yet to live up to that. Now, I'm not doubting that, and I know that Jimmy Butler can be a handful, but here's the issue with that. All of these prima donna, multi-million-dollar players come with that kind of attitude. Most of them do anyway. Not all of them are problematic. He certainly is one of the more problematic ones. Until and unless we reflect that the Doc Rivers is a player that's used to, he got this kind of experience. Remember, he handled the first big three. And if we understand that KG, we hear that Paul Pierce right now, we're showing what kind of attitude he has. Paul Pierce is a California, born and raised, street-affiliated young man who definitely came to the NBA with a chip on his shoulder, if you will. And Doc Rivers is credited with bringing that whole triumvirate, him and his crew, into some kind of semblance of order where he brought that all together. They won championships. And so here we have, if a young player or these young players get an opportunity to play under a coach like that, and that's why we talked a couple of episodes ago, we talked about the issue of culture. The Clippers are building a better culture. That's why, as a player, I stay away from the Lakers right now. The culture is not good. Just fact.
Yeah, the culture is.
Tyronn Lue getting hired is proof that the culture is terrible. We know what's going on with the culture if Tyronn Lue is the coach. Come on. The man had to quit because his health, because coaching under LeBron was so rough for him, it damn near brought his health into problem.
Interesting. Yeah. So again, Double J, your points are valid. You know what I mean? I just say that we mentioned both sides of it is all. You know what I mean? You got to add your milk and your eggs in order to get the cake that you're trying to get. You know what I'm saying? Not just your eggs, so to speak. Go ahead.
And you're absolutely right. I love the point that Brother Rich added with how that same regime that I was speaking of handled Michael Jordan, and upon hearing that and it reminding me that took place, it made so much more sense why they went the route that they did when it came to the same handling of Derrick Rose at the time. Now, of course, unfortunately, he's been able to come back into form to an extent, and but that was a cherry on top for me. That it was more with the franchise and the management than the players themselves.
Yeah. Lastly, on this Lakers nation or this La La land or the battle for L.A., LeBron James claims to have been surprised at the sudden and abrupt decision, quote unquote, of Magic to leave the Lakers. Bron said he thought it was weird for him, Magic that is, to be like, nah, I'm up out. Hold on. Let me. Are you serious? Are you kidding me? You can't talk about, and I use this analogy in reference in past debates and conversations and things of this nature kind of come up. I cannot be in my backyard barbecuing and neighbors done called the fire department, but I'm over in your backyard, Brother Rich or Double J, talking about some, you ain't grilling, you ain't doing that right. You're supposed to turn your steaks after 5 minutes. But you said every time you get out here with yours, everybody got to run for cover. Do you all get what I'm driving at? You made your own decision. To use the word surprised, you don't think the folks in Cleveland were surprised when you all of a sudden came out and said what you said about taking your talents to Chicago or Jamaica or wherever you was going? Yeah, we're surprised. I just find it, I can't even find a word for it right now. Asinine, I guess. Hypocritical, maybe. For you to use that verbiage in regards to Magic doing what he did, when you on record and on this, you done did it before. You did it too. Not in the same fashion, of course, but you know what I mean? I'm just saying strictly to this whole, the decision, so to speak, and surprised, so to speak. What you surprised for? It's a business, right? Folks do what they got to do. And Magic had every right, like you said before, Brother Rich, about his legacy and so on and so forth. When your legacy, you know what I'm saying, when that's your focus, we've seen it on more than one occasion. Guys do what they got to do when their legacy is the focus again. That's what they do what they got to do for their legacy. Am I right? So why should LeBron be surprised by anything Magic did? And how can he fix his mouth to say anything like that is what I'm driving at. Brother Rich?
Well, you touched on all the points again, as we said, what we all agreed on earlier in the earlier broadcast. Legacy. Magic is going to protect his legacy at the end of the day, and like any one of us would when you built up that kind of legacy. And here's a man that, remember, is public knowledge. Here's a man that has been publicly battling a life-threatening disease. Do I want my legacy that was tied initially to that? I survived that. I built a franchise in terms of my name and Magic Johnson Enterprises and everything he's done and all the off the court, all the charity work he's done, all the commitment. and not to mention the profile he has maintained as being a Laker legend, somebody that is absolutely identified with the franchise's glory years, Showtime. Well, you can't mention Showtime Lakers without mentioning Magic Johnson. Do I want my legacy tied to a young man who's just moved here with his kingdom? He just translated his kingdom out here, and he has not won anything yet, but I'm getting blamed for things that his agent and his people are orchestrating behind closed doors. That, yes, I'm forced to smile and pretend I'm a part of, but yet everybody knows I'm traveling, I'm doing this. If that's the fact, it's so public that I'm not involved, that the owner and the GM are exchanging emails where they're talking about the fact that I'm never there, then who's making these moves? Certainly we know now ESPN, no less than ESPN, was reporting Rich Paul was orchestrating some of these moves personally, telling the New Orleans franchise, this is what you're going to do, as though he was running the league. And this is what people were saying. So if I'm Magic Johnson, do I want to get blamed for that? No, I'm not going to get. I don't owe anybody anything. I'm still Magic Johnson. I'm going to be. When I got up this morning, I was Magic Johnson. When I went to sleep, I was Magic Johnson. If I die tonight, I'll be Magic Johnson. And I'm certainly not going to have it tainted because somebody wants to tie me with having made some blunders. No, I'm not going to do that.
You know,
so I applaud Magic Johnson protecting his legacy.
You know, at the end of the day, I get out of all of that, you know what I get? There's too many cats in the NBA, in particular, who got a false sense of entitlement. Am I right in extracting that from what you just said, Brother Rich?
But I think it's fair that LeBron has a sense of entitlement. I think that's people have to accept. You know, I've had this you and I talk about this offline as friends and brother all the time. And I tell you that the fact is we have to accept that this is LeBron's NBA. The fact that this is his era. This has been his era. And he has the right to, when he's going to a situation or circumstance, the NBA crowned him as king. So if you bring me in your environment, the fact is, as great as Magic Johnson is, nobody's buying tickets to go see Magic Johnson today. He's part of the legends of the Laker legacy,
okay.
But he's not a Laker today. People are buying tickets to see LeBron James, and it is a fact that the playoffs are lessened, if you will, because this is the first in a long time that we either have LeBron to root for or against. That's the fact. We can't get away from that. That LeBron, you're one of the people that pointed out to me initially of LeBron's impact in terms of commercials. You and I know people in that city who ran stores, who taught us about the sales of his merchandising and his sneakers in the early days, and we had these conversations with individuals who were intimately involved in this. So we know the growth of his brand. We followed it intimately. We were involved in those conversations with the barbershop. You know what I'm talking about. And so we know that this young man has taken over the league organically, and certainly with the help of the marketing machinery that is the NBA, Sprite, McDonald's, Nike. They definitely propelled him to a point where we have to say, hey, it's LeBron's NBA. Now, in all of that, I'm still a Kobe fan. In all of that, I'm a Kobe disciple. I have no problem acquiescing to the fact that I'm a fan of, and I believe Kobe is number 2 to Jordan. Nevertheless, you're not going to ask me whose era this is, and I'm going to say Kobe. No, Kobe's era was much shorter than this era that has been LeBron's era. Now, I am one of those who can see that we are now approaching. That's why I can be honest with you and tell you, I don't believe that what we saw this year was a mirage. I believe that's what we're going to see. I don't believe he's going to be able to win back the favor of those young players. I don't believe that Ty Lue is the solution in terms of a coach, because they're going to see that as that's LeBron's guy. So you're telling me LeBron is coaching the team. So this is the dude that wanted to get rid of me last year. So what's going to be the plan now when you and your coach now is working to get rid of whoever? Who are they going to try to trade midseason this year? Because you know that's what's going to happen again. So we're going to have more confusion, more disunity, and you cannot win with that when there certainly appears to be no management unity from the top. We're not sure who's running the team, who's making decisions for the first time in forever. Meanwhile, on the other side of the hallway, mind you, right on the other side of the hallway, Jerry West is sitting with Steve Ballmer, a billionaire, who's telling him, do whatever you want. And then he's talking to this one, and people, he's calling people and saying, this is Jerry West, and they're just happy to talk to the logo, and what do you want? This is the guy that got the Lakers. Look at the kind of people he brought to different teams. He talked them out of Kobe Bryant. I mean, we just could. I don't even want to take the time. The listeners could just Google his name and see the kinds of deals he's gone to every location and brought in fantastic players. Who is he bringing to the Clippers this summer?
Yeah, you know what? I'll say a couple of good stuff. I mean, I can't argue with you, bro, Rich. Not on that one for sure. I'll say this right quick, and then Double J, I'll let you finish this out, take us out of here. Brother Rich, right quick, as far as the playoffs not being interesting or whatever the case may be, because there's a lot of talk about that with LeBron. And I'm with you on that. You know, people want to root for him or root against him. That whole villain thing is played up largely. But I'm telling you right now, the Portland Trail Blazers and the Denver Nuggets, I'm sorry, nobody's thinking about LeBron. Because some of these playoff games so far have been quite interesting rarely. You know what I mean? And people want to talk about the ratings are down. I'd like to see what the ratings are so far up to this point after that Nuggets in particular and Portland. Because them games, right, to tell you that for overtime game by itself might have took the ratings from an 8 whatever it is to a 35.7. I'm just saying.
But that's the purist in you talking, Jay. I like that. I watched those games, but I knew the ratings were down. I'm in entertainment business here. I knew that what matters to these individuals and what would matter ultimately is the fact of ratings. And because this is the first now next season and going forward, now this Houston series, the ratings are going to be up, and the finals, everything's going to be back. I have no doubt about that. But initially starting, because you were dealing regionally, and people did not have LeBron nationally. He's the national figure that people either are rooting for or against. He was not involved in it, so you had people. Nobody really cared about regionally whether quote unquote this team, Milwaukee or Portland per se. I wasn't interested in Portland until they got to this round. Now I'm looking at them. I was watching Damian Lillard the other day saying, and I was watching Portland, thinking back to many times you have told me, Brother Richard, Portland. Many times you've told me, Brother Richard, Denver. All teams, I can tell you honestly, I never paid attention to them. I'm a Laker fan. I root for the Lakers.
Yes, this is true. That's for sure. Yes. The Lakers have been your boys, and they gonna be your boys. I know that regardless of what the case may be.
Yes.
And then the second thing I wanted to say too, there's a video. Double J, I'm sure you saw it. You know, now I will say this about these playoffs. Not all the teams, because actually I don't even think I've seen the Trailblazers or the Nuggets doing as much as I've seen the two most heralded teams the NBA puts out on display, the Warriors and the Rockets. All of these dudes, man, you're professional. But in this instance, you're professional crybabies. These dudes and crying about these calls and these after-game audits and about who blew what calls and all of that, because especially with James Harden. And you said this too on many occasions. The Rockets ain't going nowhere. Any James Harden, that team ain't going nowhere unless it's the regular season. They showed a video clip on Facebook how Kobe handled not getting a call, which is how you supposed to handle not getting a call if you're a basketball player. Ain't got nothing to do with the era. If you're a hooper, what did we say? What have we been saying on this show, fellas, when it comes to stuff like this? We know as the opposition, when we're going into to face the opposition, you see what I'm saying? Before we walk out on the floor, what we telling the folks in the locker room, bro, Rich? Double J, what we saying?
We already know what it is.
Yeah, any one of y'all think we're going to get a call out here, don't come out this locker room. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? If we do get a call, it's because we're going to have to have then force them to make a call, if that made any sense whatsoever. These dudes not getting a call in Golden State, man, and the way they was going on and on and on and on about it, that to me is what's killing the ratings more so than anything. These crying professionals. You're a professional, man. Man up. Handle it. Stop kicking your legs out. And I saw a couple of memes where they used the WWE, the wrestlers. I don't know when they do that flying jump kick into a player. It's like this how James Harden. This how James Harden. When the refs ain't calling, this how James Harden is getting his shot off. Yeah, he kicking people. But man, Kobe didn't get a call. He looked at the ref, and he went to work the next possession. You see what I'm saying? Got the bucket and had to get the call. Then looked at the ref again like, yeah, I bet you won't play me like that again, chump. And then walked off because it was a timeout. He forced the other team to use a timeout. I'm just saying, man, that's how you handle not getting no calls. You go up in there and you put the pressure. Boy, don't get me started. We gotta close out here in a minute. Don't get me started. That's for another. We're gonna talk about that for another time. But you all get the point. Double J, take us on out of here, man. Before I get to going on.
Well, yeah, I'm entirely in agreement with you regarding the casual fans not tuning in for this year's playoffs yet. Again, I think now, this has been a blessing in disguise for the league because it's giving, it's putting a spotlight on the mid-market teams and some of these West Coast teams, specifically like Portland and Denver, that you weren't seeing that often despite Denver's wonderful season, regular season. In Portland, believe it or not, a lot of people are still not hip to how good C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard are, and they're making the most of the opportunity that they have. I think they're winning a lot more fans, not only with the magnificent performances that they're putting on the court, but also with what, how they're carrying themselves off the court. With what McCollum, as you alluded to a little earlier, with what he had said about, just what real struggle is and about pressure specifically.
That was Dame Lillard, actually. Yeah, go ahead, but I'm with you.
Lillard.
Yeah.
But again, regardless, it's things like that will get you a fan. That you don't have to be a fan of basketball to
be a fan
to appreciate
of
what
that.
that, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, when you're seeing that, and again, everybody's familiar with Giannis at this point, but Milwaukee, other than when Kareem was there, has not had the spotlight on them. And so, maybe when the Ray Allen was traded in 2002.
Yeah.
And so, so when you look at this, I think it's been great. For the quality of the games has been there, and I think that's what's going to carry over and lead that push going into these last two rounds. If not, have an immediate impact. But again, yes, unfortunately, with the calls, it's having the opposite effect for James Harden, in my opinion. I think he's losing fans with each passing game. And ultimately the act in the is kind of up.
I wonder why.
I'm intrigued. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brother Rich said he. Yeah.
Well, maybe you may have gotten
telling
poked in the eye too, huh?
I've been telling them no team with James Harden can win anything. I've been telling him this for years.
Yeah, matter of fact,
we've been talking about this for years.
Yeah, we have. Somebody suggested the other day at work. They was like, "Man, this past year's NCAA champion, the Virginia Cavaliers, could have beat the Rockets with James Harden the way he do what he do, because they would have locked him up on defense."
Yeah.
I was like, "Wow."
That's
He's
it.
like, "Man, seriously." He's like, "Man, Harden has become a sideshow."
And you heard it here first. They're gonna get blown out by 30 tonight. They can
slow down. But Brother Rich,
they're gonna get blown out by 30 tonight.
Hold on. I know we talked that whole Houston thing.
They're gonna get their dome rocked back tonight. Watch.
Okay, so hold on. You jumping the gun a little bit there. You jumping the gun a little bit
Okay.
there. I do want to ask.
I apologize.
No, but you, yeah, got you. It's fine. I do want to ask you all right quick, yes or no? Do you think that the Nuggets Blazers series so far, or up to this point, is being better played than the Warriors Rockets? Double J, yes or no?
Oh, without a doubt. Are you kidding? I mean, you look at it, between the two, it feels like it's night and day.
Yeah.
Sure, they're competitive games on the other side of the pendulum there, but fundamentally, team, depth, athleticism, insert
So it's got all the
After
ingredients.
Here, it
Yeah.
is being. It's all on display. I
Yeah.
I can't get enough of it personally. I was thrilled. I felt so bad at forcing myself to stay up for that, but I felt so good. So then
Yeah.
let that sink in.
Yeah, Brother Rich, what about you? Do you think this Nuggets Blazers?
I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. If I'm the NBA, I love that. I love what's happening, even without LeBron, because I think this is proving that our product can survive it. Because this is the series that's surprising people. This is the series that's reminding us of what basketball used to be about, where teams are literally playing to where they literally are really without the referees, without any foolishness.
Yeah.
They're going down to 1-point games
Yeah.
where it's real overtime, where it's real
Yeah.
basketball, where
Yeah.
if they're playing. Absolutely correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as I told you, people who have not tuned into them all year are getting a chance to see, oh, wait a minute. So the league, I think the league is secure, very, very secure in that regard. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's the best series in the West.
I'll say
Because
this.
other absent for Golden State fooling around, really this series that with Rockets, unless something catastrophic happens tonight, like as I told you all, unless this series should be over with tonight. But they just been playing around too much.
Yeah, and I'll take us out of here, actually. I'll say this. You talk about the NBA and the product and being good and so on and so forth. I'll say the onus is now on the NBA, as it has been in the last 4 or 5 years at least, which is why I don't understand. But if no other playoff series in the last few years should indicate or dictate, this one should, this Nuggets Blazers, the onus is on the NBA to showcase or figure out a way to start pushing their bottom tier portions of their product throughout the regular season. Stop whereas we got to wait to the playoffs to see the teams that we should be seeing all year long. You get what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that you have to show them to the tune that you do your money makers, quote unquote, your Warriors and your LeBrons, whichever team he's on that week or this week. But you got to start like the Sacramento Kings or whatever. Be on the lookout for them too. Okay, that's all I'm saying. At the end of the day, you got 30 teams. You can't keep showing the same 5 or 6 on your major networks, and then them folks who don't go past the front door. That's all they seeing, and that's all they talking about. You know what I mean? It's you as the NBA. You got to say, wait a minute. You know what? We got to start mixing them teams in that the folks don't get to see, or the folks who don't have the package. Because I'm not bragging, but I got the package, so I get to see them teams. I got to see all of it. You know what I mean? But them folks that don't have the package, you got to give them a chance to see them lower echelons, if you would. You got to give them a chance to see them more so throughout your season, as opposed to just waiting to the playoffs. Then you get that parity that you claim that you say you want or that you have, organically, so to speak. You got to start showing them teams more. All right, fellas, good stuff, man. And on that note, it's been fun, but we got to run. We appreciate y'all for listening. Don't forget to check us out right here on the Spreaker.com network. You go to the search box and you type in the Shop Report. Or you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, and, of course, via email, theshopreport365@gmail.com. And if that don't work, Google it. Before I say thank you to my guests, I want to say thank you for all out there that's listening who it was not my intention. My intention was to just do another test run, so to speak, because we had some technical difficulties earlier. But once we got into it, we just went on ahead and went to it. Do you all know we've been going for about an hour and some change, fellas? Did y'all know that?
I don't know that.
Right, exactly. In other words,
Time flies when you're having fun.
Exactly. When the conversation is substantive, this is the type of show that you get, man, and I appreciate it. So for my guest, Brother Rich from NYC, a.k.a. Rucker Park, and my man, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J, and all those who follow us on social media, we say thank you for your support. I'm Barbershop Jay, and you've been listening to the Shop Report. And remember, the next time y'all want to know what's really going on, come to the shop. Walk-ins are always welcome. Holla.